Oh my goodness, what is happening? Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news in the National Hockey League as Quinn Hughes has been traded to the Minnesota Wild. What? What? In a day where we just saw the big fleece of the Penguins getting rid of Tristan Jarry, the Vancouver Canucks are acquiring in a package that will include Zeev, Buium, Marco Rossi, Liam Ohgren, and a 2026 first-round pick. Quinn Hughes going to the Minnesota Wild. What universe are we in? This is breaking news. This is live. This is real, ladies and gentlemen. Quinn Hughes is going to the Minnesota Wild for a package including, I'd say, 3 top prospects and a late 2026 first-round pick. What is going on? Welcome, everyone. Subscribe if you haven't already. Breaking news in the real world of hockey exactly like this. By the second breaking news, as well as franchise modes and all that. NHL content. Great time to jump into the holidays. But let's start breaking all of this down, every little piece of it. As news is just coming out, what is going on? The Canucks are receiving a bigger package. Hold on. So Rossi, Buium, Ohgren, and a part of the package going to the Vancouver Canucks. Everyone's, well, not everyone, but it was all spoken about. No, the Canucks were not moving Stuart Skinner. Boom, here's a trade. The Canucks, no, we're going to stand pat. We're going to see what happens maybe by the end of the year. But boom, off to the Minnesota Wild. What is going on? What is going on? And not traded to the New Jersey Devils. Yes. So huge package coming back to the Vancouver Canucks. If it's going to be Ohgren, Rossi, Buium, a first and more, it sounds like at least the Canucks are getting value for Quinn Hughes. Is it the right move? Is it the time? Whatever you want to talk about, that can be discussed. But is this the right, at least, value that would be given up for a player of Quinn Hughes' caliber? I would say it's sounding like that. Oh my goodness. No, we were not expecting it to be Minnesota. Welcome everyone to the stream. What is going on? No, not a data cast for the Oilers trade. It's actually for the Quinn Hughes trade. Wow. Okay. So let's start looking at, we're waiting to get all the final details. Quinn Hughes, as released here by Jay Fresh, of course, is a superstar offensive defenseman. You need the numbers to tell you that. An exceptional skater, passer, and puck handler who has been relied upon to carry his team's offense while also holding up his end of the deal defensively. Over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data, in the 99th percentile of wins above replacement. Crazy. Incredibly valuable to the Canucks on a not-so-great team as of late, of course. 99th percentile of even-strength offense over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data. 73rd of even strength defense, 90th of goals, 95th of primary assists, 97th of drawing penalties, 97th of power play, no penalty kill metrics there, but finishing, playing with high levels of teammates against relatively high levels of competition as well, yes, and big numbers, big ice time, and the Canucks are moving officially into the rebuild here with that type of trade going on. Maybe not the rebuild, but the totally different direction. Sorry, my words are going to be lost a little bit on a video like this today. It's not quite the rebuild, but it's the total shift of directions, I guess you could call it. Maybe you could call it rebuild, but yes. Okay, that is a big return. The rebuild has begun, says Marco D'Amico. Interest in Rossi was notable from the summer. Adding Ohgren, Buium, and a first is a haul that simply cannot be ignored. Yeah, that's a huge package. You got to give respect to Vancouver. If you're moving Quinn Hughes, which is crazy, but if you're moving him, that's the value that you want to get back for him, right? Are we going to be happy to see Quinn Hughes in Minnesota? We'll see. We'll see. Dexter showing up with a big $10 dono and such an incredible night here. Oh my goodness. I was just about to go live. You may have got the notification. I was going live for our Hockey Legacy Manager series. And then boom, Quinn Hughes, the Minnesota Wild. Mini instantly a wagon. Opened up YouTube expecting Palermo and then saw this. Yes. Oh, and look at that. They just drafted Buium and Ohgren recently too as well. Crazy. Welcome everyone to the stream. If you're new to the channel, we do breaking news in the hockey world, but also our own NHL 26 franchise modes and live streams, anything to do with hockey, fantasy sports, franchise. This is the place for you, but especially when it comes to breaking news. So I'm not sure. They said there was more, but it sounds like that's going to be it, and that's understandably so. The Canucks' 7th overall pick back in 2018, 26-year-old Quinn Hughes. Now the question is, Minnesota Wild just gave up the farm, everything for Quinn Hughes. Now he's signed on, looking right here, he signed on for this year and next at 7.85, but then is an expiring UFA. I guess the Minnesota Wild are confident enough that they will be able to keep him on board in a defensive core of him on the left, Quinn Hughes. over here, yes. So him on the left, Brock Faber on the right, let's say. Spurgeon, he won't be there much longer. Brodin would still be around. You'd have David Jiricek still in the system. This does allow more room, more breathing room for David Jiricek, which is good as well. That's what they would want to see. And looking as well as the microstats in 24-25 on Quinn Hughes. No, Grok, I don't need you to explain this to me. I don't have to tell you Hughes is an extraordinary player with the puck, but his microstats put it in perspective. He is a special player. Which video did you include in my screenshot? No, I was actually going to be for my next one, Francesco, as we get closer to Christmas time. So Quinn Hughes, just in 24-25, 97th percentile of even strength offense wins above replacement, 71st of defense, 95th of power play, 100th of drawing penalties, and the highest percentile you can get, 98th in finishing as a defenseman. This is among defensemen, by the way. So 98th percentile of finishing at 5v5 per 60 minutes. Keep that in mind as well when looking at these numbers. Look at the blue. Look not just in the 90s, but the 100th percentile for primary shot assists, neutral zone shot assists, passes, exits, entries, and then mid to high 90s shot contributions, in zone offense, success per possession play, neutral zone, chance assists, primary assists, everything. Now, what doesn't he do super well? Doesn't throw the body, entry chance prevention, possession, entry prevention. Okay, that can be maybe not forgotten, but when he does everything else, not just well, but at the top of the NHL, that makes it a bit more digestible. So Quinn Hughes, it sounds like these are the details. Quinn Hughes for a 2026 first, Marco Rossi, Zeev Buium, and Liam Ohgren going to the Vancouver Canucks. What a haul for them. What do you think of Fowler last night? Loved Fowler for the Canadians. Loved him. NHL saw this, and now they're going to take another first-round pick away from Ottawa. That might be it, huh? All right. Molto bene. Yeah, sì, amico mio. Okay, so give me a moment. Let's go ahead and pull up the stats on all those players that just got included in this package. We'll go ahead and pull it up for Buium. Give me a second here because I didn't know who was being traded for when the trade first happened. Let's get Ohgren. You can hear me typing here for a second. And Rossi. I'm a big Marco Rossi truther. I'm a big fan of Marco Rossi. I like that for Vancouver. There's their second line center that it's more than Philip Heedle, right? Okay, there we go. Let's get back into this here. Sharing the screen. Let's do it. Central Division just got even more insane. 3 top prospects and a first. So the Sharks could have given Kags, Halton, and Oilers first and Avs second. I don't think that would have moved the Vancouver Canucks as much as the package from them. I don't think there's really any team that could have matched a package like that. That is an insane trade. What a crazy package. Some are saying that the Wild gave up too much, but it's Quinn Hughes. Yeah, did you give up a ton? Absolutely. But is that the value it takes to acquire Quinn Hughes? Yes. Now, the question then becomes, like Intelligent Dice says, one of our channel members, can Minnesota sign him? We'll see what happens here. As a Wild fan, here's Doggy. I'm happy to hear Hughes, but it's to have Hughes, but it's hard to digest that to trade Rossi, our current first-line center with Zuccarello and Kaprizov, Buium, 20-year-old kid who's only getting better, and Ohgren, who's been buried in the lineup. Pretty casual fan here. How good is he for the Vancouver Canucks? You're saying, a fan of the Wild, are you saying? Or just of hockey? Anyways. For Quinn Hughes, how good is he? Well, look at these numbers right here. He is in the 99th percentile of wins above replacement. Basically, the value that he provides in terms of wins above that of a level of a player who is a replacement level player, so kind of like a fringe NHLer. How much value does he provide to the lineup above which would be like a fringe type player? He's in just about the highest percentile you can get. And then on top of that, you have his offense, his goals, his defense, his primary assists, drawing penalties. And for the micro stats we just saw, what else does he do well in terms of zone entries, passes, deny rate, in-zone offense? Yeah, he's a special player, one of the best in the NHL, and that's why he's gotten those Norris votes. He won the Norris in 2024, and he's gotten Norris votes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his 7 NHL seasons. And now this year, 23 points in 26 games, -10 on a bad Canucks team, yes. But yeah, to answer your question, how good is he? Exceptionally good. Exceptionally. Why would the Canucks do this? Honestly, why would they move Hughes? That's a question. But why would they move him in this package? The answer would be, why wouldn't they move him in a package like this? When you get offered 3 top prospects and a first and you want to be going in that rebuild direction, you can't say no to this. Now, the bigger question, why would the Canucks move Quinn Hughes? It goes back to them moving JT Miller, Marcus Pettersson starting to sell off. Why would they do that? I guess they just weren't convinced by this core. They weren't convinced by the scoring of Besser and Garland, guys that they gave big contracts to, and they'd rather put the eggs in the basket of the Jonathan Lekaramakis and of the world and stuff like that. Let's go a younger direction. And I think as a Canucks fan, as devastated as you are with Quinn Hughes leaving, I think you can at least go to bed tonight with a smile on your face. There might be a tear running down your cheek, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a smile on your face if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan right now. What did the Wild give up? Let's go back over that package again. A lot of people are just joining the trade. Joining the stream. We'll look at the JFresh cards again in a moment. The full trade right here. Maybe this graphic makes it look nicer. A 2026 first-round pick, Marco Rossi, Liam Ohgren, and Zeev Buium going to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for Quinn Hughes. So Quinn Hughes, we'll look at what it does for the salary cap and blah, blah, blah in just a moment. Zeev Buium, the 12th overall pick by the Wild in 2024, 14 points in 31 games in his rookie season. He's been playing big ice time as well for how old is he? 19? No, he's 20 now. He just turned 20 5 days ago. A 20-year-old who's playing already 18 and a half minutes per night. You might say, okay, that's not anything too crazy. But for a guy at that age, given that power play responsibility as well, 14 points in 31 games. He's doing great things for the Wild right now with only more to come as an offensive defenseman dynamo. So Zeev Buium alone, this is a crazy statement. I don't really believe it. But like, think about this in theory. Zeev Buium alone might approach the value of Quinn Hughes. I don't think you can say he equals Quinn Hughes, but he might approach the value of Quinn Hughes alone, Zeev Buium. Not equal one day. I don't think so necessarily. But I think that Buium alone would be worth at least maybe 2/3 of Quinn Hughes. Then add in Marco Rossi, add in Liam Ohgren, and a first-round pick. Oh my goodness gracious. A lot of comments coming in here in the chat. Sorry if I'm not seeing everybody. Yeah, you think Minnesota wins the trade? Now, right now, today, absolutely. But it will depend 100% on them extending Quinn Hughes. If he gets extended, and he's right, and they're in their win window right now with Kaprizov, with Rossi, with even Spurgeon, Brodin, guys like that, then yes, absolutely. The Wild, that's a great trade for them. But they did give up a lot of their future. They're putting a lot of eggs in the Quinn Hughes basket. But putting the eggs in the basket of a guy like Quinn Hughes with Kaprizov and all that is not a bad thing. Absolutely not. Now, if they can win a cup and then he even goes to free agency, then flags fly forever. No problem with that. But if they don't win a cup in 2 years, they need to make sure that they get him extended. If he's extended, he's a Wild player for the next 10 years or whatever, then no problem. So many wins this season, but long run, I think it's good both ways. Sometimes you say this team wins in the short, but this team wins in the long. I think both teams could win. This is a huge gamble by the Wild in terms of here are 3 great young players. But even if all 3 of those players become stars for the Vancouver Canucks, if Quinn Hughes is still your star in Minnesota, well, then so be it. That's what you have to do when you're getting the value of one of the premier offensive defensemen in the NHL, right? Yeah, if Hughes were to walk, that would be a big problem. That would be a big, big problem. Tyler's saying, as a Wild fan, I love this. Ohgren isn't looking like anything higher than a third-line center at this point. Rossi only looks good when he plays with Kaprizov and will never be a true first-line center. Buium is tough to see go. Yeah, I think Rossi could be a very, very strong second-line center, but I'm not sure if I would see him as a first-line center. Correct. Looking through a lot of comments here as people are adding in their thoughts. Let's go. Sorry. So we've been looking. Let's look at now a bit of the package that the Vancouver Canucks are acquiring. Marco Rossi. I'll go ahead and take this off the screen here. Does the discussion now shift to the Devils, Hughes brothers getting traded or walking and signing with Minnesota? Imagine instead of everyone reuniting in New Jersey, maybe they end up reuniting in Minnesota, right? When I got the news that Hughes got traded, I was like, what? Yeah, tell me about it, right? If this was the best package for the Canucks, it's a fine trade, but I find it hard to believe this was the best. I'm not sure many teams could offer more than this. What team has 3 premier prospects, or at least 2.5, let's say, in Buium, Rossi, young players, and would be willing to move their first, and has the cap space, and is in a win-now window? Not many teams could do that. No slip-ups. Can you do a franchise with the trades and see if these teams perform better or worse with these trades? That's a great idea. So it's a bit tough because a franchise mode would be starting in September. But I guess I could try and simulate to that point. Let me know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Wild franchise next, please. So Marco Rossi, acquired by Vancouver, is a second-line center, drafted as a playmaker, has used his sense and nose for the net to become a versatile utility player. Lack of size and average speed limited his upside. One of the league's smaller centers. Yeah, he's a small guy, but he's very strong, plays like a much stronger player as well. In the 73rd percentile of wins above replacement over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data. On a great contract, 2 more years after this one at just $5 million for a 24-year-old. His value has skyrocketed from close to the 0 percentile here in 22-23. Keep in mind, yes, he was only playing 19 games, but to go from 23-24, a 40-point player, 13 points in 17 games. Looking at the wins above replacement percentile rank up into somewhere in the 60s, now well into something like the 80s. Great offense, above average defense, goals, primary assists, all great. Drawing penalties and playing against high levels of competition, but with high levels of teammates, with Kaprizov on his line, for example. Now, the micro stats from last season could paint a better picture, maybe. Looks different than was probably expected of him as a prospect, but still a useful player is Marco Rossi. 85th percentile of even strength wins above replacement offense over the last, just in the 24-25 season. Even strength defense wins above replacement, 56th percentile. Yeah, could the Red Wings have done a package like that? Yeah, that's possible. I could see that if the Wings were to move, okay, Axel Sandin Palika and Nate Danielson and, I don't know, Bushelnikov and a first. Yeah, the Wings could have made that package. I think that's probably the only other team that could have done it. Now, Minnesota, yeah, I don't think Mercer, Siegenthaler, Casey in a first moves the needle like Buium in a first. The Red Wings may have been the only other team that could have done this. But then it also comes down to Quinn Hughes. Where would you want to sign long term? Or not even where do you want to sign long term, but where do you want to play over the next 2 years? How much of an input did he have on this trade? I wonder. Could the Canadiens have done it? I don't think so. I don't think so. Unless you're willing to say, even then, like Reinbacher doesn't move the needle like Buium does. And who's the centerman in the system? Kapanen or Beck? No, I don't think the Canadiens could have gotten this done. I think anything would have to be, maybe if the Devils threw a Nemec, maybe, but I think it has to be the Red Wings or the Wild, and the Wild. Maybe they gave up more. Maybe just where Quinn Hughes is somewhere where he wanted to be a bit more. I'm seeing a lot of comments from the chat. Sorry that I can't get to all of them right now. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, with Hudson and Dobson, it wouldn't make sense either for the Canadiens with Quinn Hughes to be added to that blue line as well. Yeah. Exactly. It wouldn't quite make sense. There's the question of which team has the value, and then there's the question of which team has the right organizational makeup. Now, the next question for Vancouver is Thatcher Demko next? Is Elias Pettersson next? Guys like Garland, guys like Besser. Yes, you keep your Lekaramakis, you keep your Willenders, whatever else. But man, what direction are they going to go in now? Just full-on rebuild? Are they going to keep Pettersson, keep some of those older guys? What did the Canucks get? Yeah, we'll go back to this a few times in this one because people are going to keep coming in. Welcome everybody to the stream. Quinn Hughes going to the Minnesota Wild this evening in exchange for a wild package, no pun intended. 2026 first-round pick going to Vancouver, as well as Marco Rossi, Liam Ohgren, and Zeev Buium. So who are all these guys? So first, the Wild get Quinn Hughes, filling their biggest need with the second-best defenseman in the world, according to these graphics here from Dom Luszczyszyn. I love these graphics from him. He has a $17 million market value, yet he's being paid, how much is it again? 7.85. So that's his current value. Net rating plus 17.4. Defensive rating, yes, negative 1.2, but it does so much well offensively that it does help to balance that out. The Canucks get Zeev Buium, a potential future top pairing defenseman who has struggled enough defensively in his rookie season to have questions regarding his ceiling. Still at $6.2 million market value with what he's doing right now. Plus 1.1 offensive rating, negative 5.6 defensively. So negative 4.5. The poor defense from Zeev Buium does play a big role there. Top comps would be a guy like Noah Hannafin, Ethan Bear, Morgan Rielly, Jamie Drysdale. So if Zeev Buium becomes like a Noah Hannafin, that's very interesting. Meanwhile, the Canucks also get Marco Rossi, who fills their second-line center need, playing at a market value of $7.4 million, 85% positive value probability, very good, net rating plus 4.3, offense plus 2.8, defense plus 1.5. Canucks got a second-line center. What did it cost? Everything. Only cost us our franchise anchor. So there are the stats on Marco Rossi. If you look at the other ones from JFresh, so Zeev Buium, acquired by Vancouver, is a developing offensive defenseman whose player card is broken. Anyway, he had some defensive struggles early on, but he remains a very high pedigree player, a true blue chipper. So it's very small data in just, no pun intended on data, in just 31 NHL games played, but looking pretty good offensively, not so hot defensively. And keep in mind, 14 points in 31 games as a defenseman who's drafted 12th overall and had like 50-point seasons with the University of Denver. Looking at some of the other comments here. Welcome to everybody. Dabrowski with that $1.99. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Dabrowski. I'll get all the raffle entries in for those of you donating. Appreciate that. Can't wait to see how this trade pans out in a few years. I mean, we were talking about this trade. I remember we were talking about the Tkachuk-Huberdeau trade, similar to this type of conversation. And now here we are years later looking at Matthew Tkachuk with his Stanley Cup rings and Jonathan Huberdeau, one of the worst contracts in the NHL, right? What else are we seeing here? Patterson does have the no move. Are the Quinn brothers from there? Good question. The Quinn brothers are from Florida. Is that it? Orlando. That's where at least Quinn Hughes was born. Let me see what else. Dabrowski, Doggy wants to give his honest thoughts. No problem. Get him in there. Zeev Buium is the only good part about this trade, says the real only Rex. Yeah, Zeev Buium, I think, would be the crown jewel of this trade. But Marco Rossi center. Buium is your top pair of the future. Ohgren is a middle sixer, could be second or third line, and you get a first-round pick. I don't think there's much more you could get in a situation where it looks like you were going to have to trade him and he has 1 year left on his contract. You don't want to wait until you're pushed up against a wall and then he's on an expiring contract and the value continues to go down, down, down as time goes on. But yes, Hughes and Kaprizov will be fun. Yeah, they do live in Detroit. That's true. They're born in Florida, but live in Detroit. Yeah, interesting. By the way, while you're in here, subscribe if you haven't already. We have breaking news in the real world of hockey. As you see with this live stream tonight, breaking news. We're live 3 times a week with MLB The Show 25, NHL 26, HLM 26 live stream franchise mode series. All of you add your thoughts. You are all GMs and AGMs together building teams and dynasties. Getting closer to 10,000 subscribers moving into 2026. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell to be notified when we go live. And we always have fun times like this. Our Discord server is where it broke first with over 750 members there. So yeah, Zeev Buium there. Is there no card on Liam Ohgren? Doesn't look like. That's that. Marco Rossi we saw. Make sure we see all the graphics. Have we seen all the right graphics here? The Wild can't extend Hughes until July 1st, but they've got a great tool in their back pocket to get it done. They'll be the only team who can sign him for 8 years with a front-loaded structure, including unlimited signing bonuses before the CBA rules change September 15. That is very interesting. So the Wild sign with us, you get your 8 years, that's 17 million or whatever, as opposed to 7 years if you go to free agency. That is interesting. Yeah, Bill Guerin. Yeah, he gutsy. Let's call it that. Gutsy move from Bill Guerin. It's free to subscribe. Hit that button and go ahead and join us for when all these breaking news in the real world of hockey trades come your way. The trade deadline is going to get closer. The hockey season is moving on. We do all of our franchise mode series. If you don't subscribe, you don't like it, unsubscribe later. But at least subscribe now, hit the bell, and you'll be notified when the videos come your way. Now, Liam Ohgren is also the 19th overall pick from 2022. We haven't talked a lot about him. We've talked about Zeev Buium, first-round pick, 14 points in 31 games. We've spoken about Marco Rossi, 9th overall pick in 2020, 114 points in 202 games. He has proven himself to have that 60-plus point potential. What about Liam Ohgren? Well, he's really only getting his first full NHL season now. In 24 games last year, he had just 5 points. This year, 18 games, 0 points. However, he is a former 19th overall pick in 2022. He is just 21 years old, and he's playing like fourth line minutes here, 9 minutes, 12 minutes, 8 minutes. He's averaging just 9:32 of ice time. So this is not like Rossi, you know he's your second line center. Buium, you know he's your future top pair, top power play guy. Liam Ohgren, what might he be? He has that middle six upside. Could he be a second liner? Maybe, but he could be a very solid third liner for you. So if you're going to tell me that Quinn Hughes, who's going to walk anyways in a year from now, you got a top pair defenseman, a second line center, a third line center, and a first round pick, that's about what you can expect. You can't have the whole world, right? But you can at least expect that. And I think the Vancouver Canucks did a good job here. That's it. They moved him so they wouldn't lose him for anything. Ohgren used to play with Lekar-Maki. Oh, I didn't even know that. No, he's not a top pair guy now, but Buium will be a top pair. He has a top pair upside, I guess you could say. But no, he's not a top pair guy right now today. I wouldn't say that. Ohgren, he's playing like 20 minutes a night or 18 and a half. Ohgren used to play with Lekar-Maki. I did not notice that. So Ohgren, is that over in Sweden? Or is it over here? Lekaramaki. Yes, with Lekaramaki. Exactly. Interesting. Lekaramaki, who's even been in the AHL this year, 5 points in 5 games, 2 points in 8 games. He's been up and down. So Lekaramaki is a guy for their future. But we'll look at the depth chart too in just a second. Kaprizov's going to have 328 points playing power play with Quinn Hughes. Yeah. As a Devils fan, we'll see if Quinn is about money or family soon. Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe Jack and Luke will be the ones coming over, right? The Wild power play will be scary. They lost a piece. Now they get a center. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and look at, did they update this on Puckpedia? Let's see. I think they did not. No, they did not. So the first leaves them with a second, no third, fourth, fifth, sixth. They have no first and no third in the 2026 draft. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll find a way to sleep at night. While the Minnesota Wild now get a second first in 2026. They have no second. So they have 2 firsts, then a third, fourth, 2 fifths, sixth, and a seventh. So looking at the depth chart now in the Minnesota Wild, that now you still have a question for centerman. If Eriksson Ek is your top line center, is Zurov playing up there? It's tough. Tarasenko in the top 6. There's still work to be done here in Minnesota. There is still work to be done. If we look at, I've got that backwards. Sorry, just looking at the NHL standings quickly. Where are they in the Pacific right now? If I go ahead and open that up all for us here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. That's what I had backward. I'm sorry. Vancouver gets the first. Sorry, what am I saying? Yeah, that's my bad. This is, like I said, an instant reaction and analysis, right? So sorry, Vancouver has 2 firsts and a second, then no third, while the Minnesota Wild lose their first and don't have a second. So their first pick comes in the 3rd round. I'm sorry. The standings here. Now, the Minnesota Wild are 3rd in the Central, 17, 9, and 5. We look at the wild card. Yeah, currently with the playoff positions being what they are, they're 3rd in the Central. No one's going to catch Colorado. Could they catch Dallas? That would be tough to do. And I'm not saying they're going to miss the playoffs, but could it be the 3rd spot in the Central? Could there be a team that pushes them into a wild card spot? I don't think so. I think we can already start saying it's looking like a date with destiny to see Dallas and Minnesota in the first round of the playoffs. Rantanen and company versus Hughes and Kaprizov. This is going to be a scary Minnesota Wild team and adding to the very crowded Western Conference, right? Okay, that's done. This is interesting here. So Zeev Buium, dynamic left shot D, advantage creator, deception, and playmaking, top pair upside. Yes. Liam Ohgren, robust left shot winger, above average tools across the board, physicality, effort, and play are connected. Chemistry with Lekaramaki, middle 6 upside. Hey, I was right. Finally, Marco Rossi, undersized center with elite physical skill. I said that too. Man, I should be on TSN. Very dangerous in contested areas around the net. Plays with pace and sense. 2nd line center, 3rd line center. Well, the guy scored 60 points. I think he has, we can say, 2nd line center upside. And a 2026 first in the 20 to 32 range. In this draft, an A-grade prospect with holes in their game. Top 6 or top 4 upside. Marco D'Amico follows up by saying Buium is the real deal, but I think this assessment is quite accurate. If we're being honest, top pairing upside, middle 6 upside, middle 6 upside, and a late first isn't a groundbreaking return for one of the best players in the league. But I think I disagree with the way he says that. Top pairing upside, 2nd line upside, middle 6 upside, late first for one of the best players in the league who was on an expiring contract next season, and it looked like all signs are pointing to him leaving. So you have to take the context into account when it comes to this Quinn Hughes trade. Get data on TSN. Yeah, we went fast. That's why you have to subscribe and hit the bell, because we're always breaking news ASAP, unless I'm at my full-time job, Sally, where I can get the Jerry trade going. Wild Bronco with the $5 dono. Thank you very much, my friend. Funny thing is, Mini just released a Becoming Wild, their Get to Know the Player show episode on Zeev Buium, and then boom, he's gone. Doggy Data, can I join the link and give my thoughts? Sorry, it's just too much going on right now with all these tabs. Send me a DM or something, but I'm not going to be able to get to anyone joining, at least towards the end of the stream. Data would be better than, yeah, I know I'm better than Craig Button. I know that. I know I'm better than Craig Button. That's all that matters. Getting Rossi is not a tank. Getting 2 first-round picks would have been a tank. Canucks management / ownership think they still have a chance this year. So that's the thing. They're not tanking. Would you say they're full-on rebuilding? I don't think so either. It's like they're shifting their directions. They're shifting their eyes towards the future, which is not a bad thing to do when you think about the age of their team and who else is around here. And yeah, thought it would be a year away, but no. Rossi tends to grade high, but without Kaprizov, he tends to disappear. Very happy to be a Wilds fan right now. Yes, I think we can say that. If we go back and look at the depth chart in Vancouver, So we see Besser is, yeah. And by the way, Besser in year 1 of a 7-year extension, Elias Pettersson is signed to the end of 2032. So both Pettersson and Brock Besser are both signed on for 7 more years. So, they're not quite going into a rebuild just yet, I don't think. Jake DeBrusk, excuse me, I'm already losing my voice here, signed on for 6 more years. Evander Kane's going to walk. Connor Garland is signed on for 7 more years. Then you got Hedel, Höglander for a couple more years after this one. There's a lot of different directions the Canucks would go with this. Are they going to move Kiefer Sherwood to get a pick? They'll have 2 firsts in this year's draft. Without Quinn Hughes, they still have Hronek. They still have Pettersson, who they paid up to acquire already. Tyler Myers is going to be gone soon. Tom Willander is a guy for their future. The other Elias Pettersson. And then is Thatcher Demko going to stick around with them going in this direction? I wonder how will the Canucks look with Buium and Rossi and even Ohgren all in their lineup right away, plus another first-round pick coming down the road. They will be better in terms of their overall depth, but in terms of value for value, Quinn Hughes out, Rossi, Buium, Ohgren in. As of today, well, the Canucks are a worse team. Long-term, they fill holes they needed in their lineup, and they're going to be, and hopefully those players grow. But I wonder. Let's see, looking through some of the comments here. The Sharks offered a better package. I wonder if we know what that package is at all. How does this compare to the EK65 trade? Well, that was a 3-team deal, which included retention. And you have Petrie, you had, who else moved? Was there Hoffman moving in that deal? Was that trade? I think this is just the start for the Canucks here, says Broke Shinobi. Pretty sure they're going to make more moves this week. We could see it. Pretty sure that Hughes or his agent told the Canucks he wasn't going to sign, hence the trade, and memo sent to the league that the Canucks were open for business. That makes sense too. Tierney plus a first. Chris Tierney and a first for Quinn Hughes? That's a better package? Am I misunderstanding something? What are you saying here, TDPC? Oh, the Ottawa San Jose one? Oh, sorry. sorry. Yeah, the EK65. So no, not the Penguins one, the Senators and Sharks one. Well, let's pull that up. If we look at Erik Karlsson. That trade was Karlsson and Perron for Josh Norris, Rudolph Balcers, Chris Tierney, Dylan DeMello, a first and 2 seconds. So essentially, it was Erik Karlsson for Josh Norris, who became Dylan Cousins. So Erik Karlsson for Dylan Cousins and Tim Stützle. That's pretty much what it became. Yes, there's other pieces in there. Yes. But pretty much it became Karlsson for Cousins and Stützle, if you want to think about it in a broad sense. There's Quinn Hughes and Forrest Green. Anything else here? Hearing the Devils made what they feel was a strong offer to Vancouver on Quinn Hughes, but it didn't generate enough traction. Huh. Yeah, and the Sharks ended up with their top D prospect. Sens got lucky that the Sharks were bad. True. Yeah. Okay, so breaking back down the rest of the deal here. I don't know if Puckpedia has it yet. Let me see. No, not yet. So Zeev Buium again, going back to Liam Ohgren. Hasn't looked great so far, but consider the AHL numbers and the Sweden numbers, right? In the SHL. Yes, it's ugly to say, woo, 0 points in 18 games. But in the AHL, competitive league, 37 points in 41 games. That shows good potential. And this year, 5 points in 9 games. Okay, he's still 21. He's still a first-round pick from just a few years ago. He had good totals, 19 points in 26 games in the SHL. Let's not write off Liam Ohgren just yet. Definitely that middle 6 upside. Will he ever be better than a good third liner? Maybe not, but still, let's call it what it is at this point in time in history. New Jersey and Washington also had strong enough packages. Marco D'Amico had to check some spelling on this one on the table to get it done, but Mini upped the stakes, and the deal was ultimately struck between the Wild and the Canucks. Wow, so the Devils, the Capitals, who are the Capitals going to move? And Miroshnichenko, Ryan Leonard, I wonder. The Devils, the Capitals, and the Wild all in on the Quinn Hughes sweepstakes, but the Wild get it done moving those 3 pieces. Ottawa has to face him tomorrow. Yeah, 37 points as like a 20-year-old in the AHL. That's fine. Do you think this is a balanced deal or a fleece for one of the teams? I'd say it's probably closer than we think, but I'm leaning Minnesota on Quinn. Yeah, I'd say that Minnesota is the winner right now and potentially long-term if they get him signed. But I think this trade is going to be in future years, although it's going to be hurt as we watch, like if Quinn Hughes wins a couple Norris trophies and all that, it's going to hurt for the Canucks to watch that. However, the Canucks might be at least becoming a better team, not today, but longer term, to have their second line center, to have their third line center, to have a different top pair D. Buium's still a top pair D, upside of the future, and a first to come as well. But Rossi can pop off. Buium can become first pair. Ohgren's decent. Yeah, it's not like their potentials are set in stone. Any word on Rossi's injury? Wonder if his recovery timeline was a factor. Yeah, I wonder. I haven't seen anything on that just yet. Doggy sent his thoughts in a DM. Let me see this. Doggy, one of our Wild fans. Hi. Send me a DM. Am I missing something there, Doggy? Or is it in general? No, it was just hi. Okay. Those are your thoughts? Kind of glad that Fitz didn't get it done. Vancouver wanted Nico Hischier, which was definitely a nope. Hope Hughes hits free agency so they can possibly pick him up without giving up too much. But yeah, that's I don't know. With with CBA changing, that an 8-year deal could be struck with Minnesota Wild. They're going to have money to spend as well. They're putting a lot of eggs in his basket now. That he'll be able to play on a pair with Brock Faber. David Yurchek is going to be in there as well. Yeah, the real winner here is Brock Faber. Vediamo data. Hey, grazie. I thought you were sending the link. Just send your thoughts, please. Playoffs in the West will be scary. Wild, Oilers, Avalanche, Stars. My goodness. Would have loved to see Ovi and the Caps make another run if they got him. Can you imagine? Already with Chychrun and Carlson. Minnesota, yes, could still flip Quinn if for sure they knew they weren't going to be able to re-sign him. However, that's going to be for diminished value. That being said, Vancouver couldn't hold their water and had to unload. Hughes was starting to stink the locker room. There you go. Yeah, Faber popping the champagne tonight. Is it possible for Jack to leave the Devils for the Wild in 2030? Anything's possible. I don't know if Jack... I could see Luke Hughes leaving before Jack Hughes does. Is it a guarantee that all three Hughes brothers have to be together while they're all in their prime? I'm sure they'll get together eventually, but it's tough for a team to pull a deal like that. Sign and trade Hughes. Maybe if they could sign him, if he really doesn't want to stay in Minnesota and they could sign him for 8 years and then trade him, that's a possibility. I would say the chances of Quinn Hughes going to unrestricted free agency is close to zero. He will either extend for 8 years in Minnesota or extend for 8 years and be traded somewhere else. I really don't think, and the value would be less because they'd have the leverage of he's going to go to free agency or whatever. Quinn Hughes would only sign with the condition that he's going to get traded to a team. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be left unsigned. The Caps had discussed McMichael, Hudson, a prospect, and 2 firsts. Wow. So the Capitals seem to be willing to give up Connor McMichael, Cole Hudson, 2 firsts, and a prospect. But the Wild say we'd rather have the guarantee, more of the guarantee, in Marco Rossi. He already scored 60 points. He's already a second-line center. Let's get him in the lineup right now. So I guess they saw Rossi better than McMichael. They saw Buium better than Hudson. And they saw a first and Ohgren better than 2 firsts and a prospect. That's pretty comparable. I like that. I love hearing just what could have been done, right? The amount of people that are going to pretend like Brock Faber is an elite defenseman again because of Quinn Hughes is going to be extremely painful to endure. That would have been something. Would Miroshnichenko been involved there? It depends on the direction the Canucks want to go in, right? They want more value today, like Marco Rossi today. Buium today, as opposed to Cole Hudson a couple of years away type of thing. But in terms of value, I think that package might have been worth more from the Capitals. I don't know. No way Rossi is better than McMichael. I think it's at least close. I mean, McMichael has a great two-way game that won't come up. McMichael, just by looking at the numbers here. Connor McMichael, 57 points last year and 17 this year. Rossi had 60 points last year and has what? We said 19 this year. So points-wise, that's Ohgren. 13 this year and 17. Points-wise, I think Rossi's right there, if not better. But defensively, yeah, I'd want to look at the metrics a little bit deeper. I think it's at least comparable, you could say. You're not convincing me Zeig isn't the happy after seeing that tweet. I wonder if the Flyers were in the mix. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, you know what? I do like that Washington package better in terms of value, but for what the Canucks want to do, which seems to be stay as competitive as we can, then I understand them going with the Wild package instead. Really need that Devils potential offer. Had to have been Mercer, Casey, Nemec, 2 first. I'm sure those things will come out. And even Dougie Hamilton, I wonder. I'm sure that'll come out over time. Again, if you're just joining us, subscribe if you haven't already. Breaking news analysis in the real world of hockey. It broke first in our Discord server, link in the description, and we went live within like 3 minutes. So join us in there and subscribe. You know, if you ever don't like the content, feel free to. If you like hockey, you like franchise mode, you like that type of management type thing, or we're playing NHL 26, MLB the Show 25, this is a channel for you, and we'd love to have you join the team and get your voice in the assistant general manager booth. So once again, to wrap it up here, we're getting closer. Zeev Buium, 20-year-old defenseman, first pair upside, 50-point player, over point per game plus in the NCAA at the NCHC with the University of Denver, 12th overall pick, who has 14 points in 31 games in his rookie season, averaging 18.28 of ice time per night. Not big on the blocks and things like that, but I mean, anyways. Quinn Hughes, no, was blocking actually about a shot per game. So yeah, okay, just interesting though. So Buium is that to the Canucks. They pick up Marco Rossi, 60 points last year, 24-year-old centerman, first round pick in 2020. Another guy who eats big minutes. He's gone up in his ice time from 12 to 16, now to 18 minutes the last couple of years. He was 6th in Calder voting in 2024. Playing big minutes with the Wild, yes, with good teammates in Kirill Kaprizov. Will he be able to do the same with Connor Garland and Jake DeBrusk? I guess we'll find out. Liam Ohgren, a first-round pick in 2022. Good numbers in the SHL, good numbers in the AHL. Hasn't quite found his groove in the NHL yet, but he's only being played 9.5 minutes per night, so keep that in mind too. Throws the body, 29 hits in 18 games. Okay, I like that. Plus a first-round pick, now giving the Vancouver Canucks 2 firsts in 2026 in exchange for one of the premier defensemen, I'd say even, premier offensive defenseman and overall premier defenseman in the NHL, Quinn Hughes, with 23 points in 26 games this year, as high as 92 points in his career when he won the Norris Trophy, 432 points in 459 games, 7th overall pick of the Canucks back in 2018, 2-time Data 782 Hall of Famer. Don't forget that. And now the Minnesota Wild, fighting in a crazy Central Division, just got stronger. And the Vancouver Canucks, who are at the bottom of the Western Conference, are seemingly saying, hey, we're still out here. Okay. Yeah, Dougie, would he have waived with the Canucks? I don't know about that. At that point, Canucks should just trade with Washington, then just trade everyone else and be good in a few years. Yeah, it depends on the direction. They have Pettersson and Besser and Garland, all these, and DeBrusk all signed on for the next 6 to 7 years. So I guess they want to be good sooner rather than later. But that was a good package from the Capitals. I expected him to get traded, but to the Devils with his brother, yes. Doggy sent his thoughts here saying 50-50 right now. Rossi, who has been good and bad. Actually, I'll copy-paste it so everyone can read. These are Doggy's thoughts that he DM'd over to me. 50-50 right now. Rossi's been good and bad when he's with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. It's fun to watch those three. Our centers are weak now with Ohgren and Rossi gone. Yurov is still young and learning the ropes, but hopefully he can become what Rossi is right now as our first line center. I guess it's going to be after Joel Eriksson Ek filling in. Buium sure is replaced by Hughes, yes, but our 20-year-old who's only getting better, and our QB on power play 1 at this young of an age is impressive. Ohgren is probably the thing I'm not as sad about, as I want him to succeed because he's getting buried on line 4 and scratched. I would rather have traded Jiricek over Buium just because Hughes isn't a guarantee that he's going to resign, but I feel like I'm missing something that is already long enough. Makes sense. Great. How do we know Washington's offer? It was shared by, I think, was it Pierre LeBrun? Let me go back here. No, it was Jimmy Murphy with the Sick podcast. That's with the Tony Marinaro, reporter, insider. Hearing the Captain Canucks discussed, so not the offer, but discussed McMichael, Cole Hudson, a prospect, and 2 firsts. Marco Rossi had been linked to the Canucks since last season, tied to Pettersson talks, and again ahead of the draft in June when Vancouver turned down an offer for him. The Canucks checked off a lot of boxes in this move by adding Rossi, second line center, Buium, left D, prospect / youngster, and a first. They did check a lot of boxes there. Vancouver says Darren Dreger is now in Reno mode, but excited to add the pieces from the Wild. We'll see how the season unfolds, but the Canucks may also be in a great draft position. Yeah, so also keep in mind that you're adding maybe a top 8 pick, whatever, top 6 pick to that team. and the Canucks are getting good value both now and in the future. Palm says over on the Discord server, one of our resident insider in the Discord server, link in the description, Carolina, Philly, New Jersey, Detroit, Washington, all made offers on Quinn Hughes. New Jersey was closest per our insider in the Discord server. I wonder, it must have been a package that had Nemec and Casey and Mercer and all that involved. Yeah. Now, where do they fit in the lineup? Yeah. What should we do? Does anybody want to see an NHL type of video? Do I do a little franchise mode or something? What do I do on that? What would that Philadelphia package be? I wonder, right? I doubt Michkov would be a part of it. But who else is in there? You have Luchenko. You have good first-round picks because they're not a guarantee this season either. They would Cam York be in there as a defenseman going back? Oliver Bonk? I don't know, but good names. But I think really in my mind, it would have come down to Detroit, now Washington, surprisingly, or New Jersey. I don't know if other teams, even though they made offers or had ideas, would quite have that matching value. We can talk about the return for years, but at the end of the day, Vancouver had to trade the best defenseman in team history in the prime of his career. That's a failure. Well said. Well said. Return, value, you had to do it. What did you get? Back up against the wall. You did your best, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, Vancouver had to trade their best defenseman in franchise history in the prime of his career. That is a failure. I think we can all kind of just quiet our hearts for a moment and say, yes. Going back over here, you can pull the tactics and see which team says no, then a season sim. Yes, Tree does that. Those pack. I never watched. I've never seen them. I know he always puts those out. Oh yeah, Porter Martone, of course. Yeah, he would be involved there too. But the Flyers are really high on Porter Martone. Year check on that right side. Once if Faber is ever gone, Hughes is going to have options, not just Brock Faber. Faber on that right side. Year check on that right side. Tactics always has to catch this straight. Oh my goodness, what a trade this was. Have we explored everything about this? We looked at everything. Just waiting on Puckbeat to kind of update itself, but it hasn't. So now looking at the depth chart for the Canucks, if we throw, so now your first line is Besser. I guess your first line center right now with Elias Pettersson being injured. Where's Elias Pettersson? Is Elias Pettersson, because he's injured right now, right? Well, let's say in theory, your first line is Besser, Pettersson, and Garland. Your second line right now might be Kane, Rossi, and DeBrusk. Your third line and your fourth line are just miscellaneous things, Höglander, whoever else, because Sherwood's going to get traded. You have Baines, you have O'Connor, Sasson, Ratu, whatever. But your top six, maybe even of the future, is a mix of Besser, Pettersson, Garland, DeBrusk, Rossi, Lekaramaki. That could be your top six of the future. And on defense, you have Buium with Hronek, Pettersson, Myers, other Pettersson, and Willander. Does Demko stay as your goalie? Extended for what, 3 more years, 4 more years? Reichel just got picked up in the press box. Yeah, he's injured right now. Even Philip Hedl is injured. On paper, this is not a bad team. This is not a bad team on paper. But as we know with Vancouver Canucks, their games are not played on paper. Dice saying Sherwood to Boston. You heard it here first. And by that, I mean last night's Boston franchise mode stream. Yes, we have our Red Wings franchise mode and our Bruins franchise mode going concurrently. So if you say, oh, too bad Hughes didn't go to the Red Wings, check out our Red Wings franchise mode, and at least you can enjoy life there. How did Minnesota pull that off? Doesn't Hughes have a monster contract and paying? No, only 1 more year of $7.85 million. The question then becomes, how does Minnesota do it the year after this one? So the Canucks have a ton of cap space now. Well, a ton. They free up 7.875. They bring in Rossi, who costs what? Rossi, who costs what? $5 million. So they could bring in, so they're saving money both now and into the future. Now the Minnesota Wild go Kaprizov, Yurov, Tarasenko, Johansson, Eriksson, Ek, Boldy, blah, blah, blah. But on your defense, it now becomes Hughes, Faber, Brodin, Spurgeon, and then maybe Hunt, Bogosian. Then Yurchek, who should be playing as well. You have one of the hottest goalies in the league right now in Wallstedt. Zuccarello is injured. Yeah, this is a very good Minnesota Wild team that just got better in a difficult Central Division. I love the NHL. All this stuff happens for the deadline, and then on a day of And then the day of, sorry, it's absolute crickets. Yeah, so on the trade deadline, we'll have nothing to talk about, but we'll be live at the trade deadline. That's why you subscribe and hit that bell. Breaking news and analysis always coming your way, especially during the deadline, free agency, draft, all that. On top of our franchise mode series and career simulations, we did a Zeev Buium career sim, and we've had Quinn Hughes in many of our franchise modes, so there is a little bit of a connection here. But I wonder if we could do a new Zeev Buium sim now with him on the Vancouver Canucks. Might that be interesting? That might be an idea too. I'm not sure when Puckpedia will update that, but it's not like it does like that much happens money wise. Do we get a data cast for the Jays signing next that got buried? Oh, they did what? The Jays did something? I didn't even see. The only two-time Data 72 Hall of Famer got traded in our channel Hall of Fame. Crazy. Do we still do our HLM live stream after this? I think we do. We'll be live maybe after that. So the Devils made a strong first offer to unite the Hughes brothers in New Jersey, but the Canucks opted for the Wild's trade package instead. Cale McCarr and Quinn Hughes in the same division. The Canucks have known for a while Hughes wasn't going to extend. Vancouver believed their leverage was highest in December, January. It's true. The Devils were given a chance. Other teams in the East had a chance. And a week ago, Guerin engaged in this deal, and now tonight closed it. Very interesting. I'd love to see everything going on behind the scenes in these conversations. And even Heiskanen. Yeah, Heiskanen in that division too. Yeah, lots of great defensemen in the Central Division. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Yeah, all this on a Friday night. All this on a Friday night. Given the circumstances, you got to keep this in mind too. Given the circumstances, Canucks W could have been a lot worse. So, as we just said before, it's always going to be a loss or a failure even if you're trading your best defenseman in team history in the prime of his career. But given the circumstances, could have been a lot worse. Welcome to the stream. Now, will he sign an extension? That's a great question. He will be eligible to sign an 8-year extension before the CBA changes, and you can only sign 7-year extensions on September 15th. So he can sign an 8-year extension starting, what is it, January 1st? No, July 1st. Sorry, starting July 1st, he could sign an 8-year extension. So between July 1st and September 15th, Quinn Hughes could sign an 8-year extension. Will it be an extension to stay in Minnesota, or will it be a sign and trade? That's a question mark that we have to think about. Yeah, we know HLM never even happened. The stream got canceled to do this. Well, not canceled, but at least postponed. What was the haul? Dan, let me get this for you. One of our channel members, Mr. Dan Pell. Let's do it. The haul for Quinn Hughes. And there's even a statement from Quinn Hughes. Oh, sorry, no, it's a scouting report. The Blue Jays got Tyler Rogers. Oh, shout out to that. And there you go, Submariner. Where's a nice little graphic for us? Where's a nice little graphic? Here it is. Quinn Hughes going to the Minnesota Wild for Marco Rossi, Zeev Buium, Liam Ohgren, and a 2026 first-round pick. Yeah, who would be the captain, I wonder, in Vancouver now? Yeah, he has to sign that extension, or at least they have to get a haul for him. But I would think that he extends. I bet he's going to. Even with Kaprizov contract, the growing cap leaves the room to extend him. Yeah, they'll be okay. Money-wise, they'll be okay. It's more that will he want to, and I bet he will. Kudos, Minnesota. Fair package for Vancouver. The rebuild might not be long for Vancouver. Yeah, I think that's fair. 8x15, I'd say it might even be more. But in that range, not like 18. But I could see it being like an 8x15.75, something like that. Something in that area. If Kaprizov's getting 17, he's going to want something close to it in the new CBA that's going to be coming up. But yeah, in that range, I'd say not much more than that, but I'd say a little bit maybe. Wow. Yeah, I guess EP is going to be the captain now. JT Miller gone. Quinn Hughes gone. Who sticks around? Connor Garland. On the no surprise comment? Which one is that? Oh, here. No surprise, sent these bums into a rebuild. And the replies, he goes, we have to make it on the first round. Jerry ain't the guy. Yeah, just some Edmonton trolling. Sources indicating New Jersey and Washington had strong enough options for packages to get it done for Quinn Hughes, but Minnesota upped the stakes and the deal was ultimately struck between the Wild and the Canucks. Yeah, we had said that one earlier. Michael Russo, yes, says just talked to Marco Rossi for a while. He sensed this coming and heard Vancouver was interested, but it was still a shock when Guerin called. He thanked Minnesota profusely for everything it's done for him, and especially when he had his heart ailment. Can't wait to get to Vancouver. True. Yeah, Rossi will have a long career in this league, and he will be served well in Vancouver. They are lucky to have him. I like this a lot. Yeah, notifications, blah, blah, blah. Puckpedia has it now. There you go. So now let's look at the up. So if you open this tab, here you go. So net annual cap is the Canucks take on cap. Oh no, it's in green. They're saving about $1 million, and the Wild take on, of course, the extra $1 million. Interesting. Okay, so we look at the Puckpedia pages now. So let me see. I feel like I'm dreaming, and I'm an Isles fan. Like, what just happened? This might be the biggest trade in NHL history. It's definitely up there with some of the biggest blockbusters. Buium is a huge loss. Yes, it is. Marco Rossi for captain. Like I said, I'll say it again. Marco Rossi for captain. I am a Marco Rossi truther. I think he's going to be a star in Vancouver. Buium could become anything. He could even be a Quinn Hughes. But think about it. If Buium even becomes like a third or a half of Quinn Hughes, plus your second line center, plus a third liner, plus a first round pick, it at least is a good return given the circumstances. Yeah, so now that's updated for the Vancouver Canucks. Here you go. That is now updated. They have Marco Rossi on board. They have Zeev Buium on board. So looking at the depth chart now for Vancouver. Oh, it's still there. The depth chart wasn't updated, but still, yeah. So their current cap space is at $1.97 million. They'll have Kane expiring, Bluger expiring, Kiefer Sherwood's going to get traded. Forbort, I wonder what happens with him. But they're still on paper formidable. They're a decent enough team. And the Minnesota Wild, now down to $1.383 million in cap space. Kaprizov, see, next year becomes $17 million. Tarasenko is going to expire. Zuccarello, I wonder if he sticks around. Foligno, a couple more years at $4 million. Hartman, another year at $4 million. And then Faber and Hughes up here in that top pair. That is crazy, crazy, crazy. The Wild are going to become like the Hurricanes, just like a defense factory. Kaprizov, Yurov, Tarasenko, and then on defense, yeah, that's not the depth chart isn't updated yet, but there you go. What can Montreal get from Vancouver? Yeah. Sorry if that's a bit loud. My water softener is cleaning itself, filtering itself. Now I got to release version 4 of my NHL 26 roster. I'll definitely be getting that done over the holidays. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Williams only 19. Actually, he just turned 25 days ago and had the potential to be a Quinn Hughes. And we gave 2 other players and a draft pick. That's the thing. Yeah. Now, for the window the Wild are in, getting that left side defenseman is worth it. Are you missing a centerman in your system? Yes. Are you going to be sad to see Buium be a star? Yes. But you just got one of the premier offensive defensemen, if not one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. Vancouver did well for their position, but having to trade Quinn Hughes is insane. Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, I think Rossi is like a pure centerman. If we look at this one last time before we close it out. Look at this one last time. Blah, 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 blah. The Quinn Hughes trade has Judd Brackett's fingerprints all over it. All 4 players involved were drafted under his leadership, and there's no way Minnie can do it without the success of his scouting team. The Wild need to give him a promotion and blank check ASAP. Hold on. Pierre LeBrun says, obviously lots of teams called as Vancouver explored the market thoroughly, but I'm told the Canucks got bona fide trade offers from 6 teams for Hughes. As mentioned, New Jersey among them, but explains the quality of return from Minnesota. I bet the first offer was even less, but then when you say everything else that you say, we got this, we got that from this team, they start upping the ante. So this is the defenseman coming your way, Wild fans. Let's look at this one right here, actually. Superstar offensive defenseman, an exceptional skater, passer, and puck handler who has been relied upon to carry his team's offense while also holding up his end of the deal defensively. I'm fairly new to following hockey transfers. What's your opinion? Fair trade for both sides. Good trade for Minnesota now. Better for Vancouver in the future. Did Minnesota get ripped off? I'd say right now, value for value. Just value. Forget what they're going to do. I'm just saying, is Quinn Hughes worth 3 young players and a first? Yes, I think value for value, the Canucks got what they could get considering his contract situation as well. Got to keep that in mind. Now, in terms of what do those players bring, well, the Canucks trade left D for left D. They get a second line center. They get a third line center, third liner, and a first round pick. So it fills a lot of their needs. It checks a lot of their boxes. Minnesota Wild, though, just got one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. And yes, they had to give up one of their brightest prospects, a guy who scored 60 points for them last year, and a guy that they spent a first round pick on, plus another one of their firsts. So that's tough to swallow. But like I just said, you do it a lot more easily when you look at these numbers on Quinn Hughes. So what's my take on it? I think it's a fair trade for both sides, taking the context into account. And I think it's a win. If you have to put the win needle on one side, it's a win for the Minnesota Wild. I think that's where I put it. Now, again, looking at these numbers on Quinn Hughes, 99th percentile of projected wins above replacement over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data amongst defensemen, 99th percentile of offense, 73rd of defense, 90th of goals, 95th of primary assists, and looking at the micro stats just of last season, 97th of even strength offense, 71st of even strength defense, power play, penalties, finishing, all these things, not even in the 98th, 99th, but the 100th percentile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these in the 100th percentile, a bunch of these in the 97th, 98th. He does so much, so well. Just a special player, as Jay Fresh says, a special player. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining the stream. Like I've said to everybody, subscribe if you haven't already. If you don't like the channel and you find after a little while you're not watching the videos, then unsubscribe. But for now, subscribe, hit the bell, because we have breaking news that comes your way. We have franchise mode episodes. You'll want to be subscribed to get news when it comes out, because we're always doing it ASAP and discussing the breakdown, looking at it for all the different ways. And I appreciate all your voices in the chat, which make it what it is. Yeah, Pettersson could play left wing. Pettersson, Rossi, Besser could be more likely. I wouldn't see Rossi on the wing probably. Kicked Off the Tour says, Wilds fan here, not worried about losing the 26th first or Ohgren at all. Understandable. But I think Vancouver did well with Rossi and especially Zeev Buium. Buium is so good, and I hate losing him, but you've got to trade talent. That's it, talent for talent. It is Quinn Hughes, right? It's Quinn Hughes. So it takes money to make money, right? That said, Minnesota gets a guaranteed stud in Hughes, and 90% of the time, teams who get the best player wins the trade. The trade is fair, and if Minnesota gets a new contract in July, easy dub. Yeah, if you're telling me this is the trade plus an 8 by $15.75 million contract on July 1st, then yes, absolutely. It's already a yes, but then it becomes absolutely yes. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's about 8:41 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live maybe around 8:50, 8:55, 10, 15 minutes from now. We're going to continue our Hockey Legacy Manager series on HLM 26. It's an expansion Draft to Glory series. The Palermo Portobellos, it's a fun time. It's a silly time. It's a Draft to Glory series, so we can only use players who we've drafted. Hope that you'll join us for it. Dabrowski says, Devils beat writer says, spitballing, Devils might have sent something like Gritsuk, Mercer, Nemec, and 2 firsts. Yeah, sad the Flyers couldn't put together a package, but it would have definitely costed Martone/Michkov plus more. Agreed. I do want to hear what the other teams offered the Canucks for Hughes. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. We've already heard that the Capitals were discussing something like McMichael, Cole Hudson, a prospect, and 2 firsts. Why would the Hughes want to play with a team that's not in a playoff spot? See, that's the thing. You could trade Hughes to a team that's not in a playoff spot, but then you have to get him to extend. So which of these teams offering him a package would also be in the window of contention to say that we feel confident that he will get a deal done? Not many would be out there. I'm surprised that it's Minnesota. I thought it would have been Detroit. I could see Washington, but I see the defensive stats, but does he pass the eye test defensively? Blocking shots, throwing body on the like, strength like that. Well, great idea. Great thing. I can't show you the eye test here. We can look at some of the stats right here. He, per 82 games in his career, on average, 66 blocks per 82 games played. But now, as he progresses, he blocks a bit more than a shot per game the last couple seasons. About that, only 21 hits. So he doesn't throw the body. He has 1 hit all season. So he's not going to be that type of defender. That's why you need him to play with Philip Hronek or with Brock Besser, whoever it might be. So he's not going to be that physical kind of guy. He's your first unit guy, first pair guy, first unit power play guy, and he does so much with possession and metrics and puck moving. But for physicality, for putting the hurt on, stuff like that, that won't be your Quinn Hughes kind of guy. Going back to the top here. Canucks fans, you're absolutely going to love your return. Buium is going to be a top pairing defender. Rossi's going to be into his second 50-plus point season. Ohgren has promise as a middle 6 winger. but they just traded away possibly the second best defenseman in the world. Yeah. So like I said, Canucks fans, we'll close off with this. You go to bed tonight with a smile on your face, but a tear running down your cheek. We can talk about the return for years, but at the end of the day, Vancouver had to trade the best defenseman in team history in the prime of his career, and that is a failure. Ryan coming in, Hadieta just got on. Man, Vancouver doesn't mess around, eh? Miller, Horvat, Markstrom, Hughes. I'm sure there's more to come. I'm sure there's more to come. Whew. Quinnesota. Welcome to Quinnesota. Logan Mailloux just scored, speaking of fleece trades, Mailloux for Boltzuk. I think he fits a lot with what the Wild are. Short, fast, skilled guy, but whatever Foligno is. We got no, yeah, that's true. Without Foligno. I guess we'll see how it pans out hopefully tomorrow. Have a good night. Thank you very much, Cal. Appreciate that. We'll end off the stream here. Leave me a comment with your thoughts. What do you think about this trade? Who wins and why? Join us in our Discord server where we're breaking news first. That's where it broke first. That's where I heard about it. And that's where you're going to get your information coming in fast from all of our insiders and the over 750 members in our server. I just tried this trade in NHL 25, even though Hughes isn't signed to an extension and Vancouver is marked seller. They don't accept it. Value bar is way in Vancouver's favor. Huh. Interesting. Max viewers was 221. Awesome. Thank you, Docky. All right. Then I tried Rossi in 4 first, and they still said no. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. What a stream. What a time to break it down for the last hour. We'll be live in about 10 minutes with our continuation of our Hockey Legacy Manager series. I hope to see you there. What a deal this was. One of the biggest blockbusters in recent years, or even in NHL history. Quinn Hughes, the Minnesota Wild, 3 big names and a first-round pick coming back to Vancouver. How this play out in years to come, that is yet to be seen. But Horvat out, Miller out, all these guys over the years. What's next for Vancouver? That is yet to be seen. So thanks for being here, everybody. Have a great start to your weekend, and we'll talk soon.